Hi. In this video, I would like to talk more about what has happened to me in my childhood. Actually, I think that my father was so psychotic, and my grandfather also. I think that the Second World War actually made people so psychotic that they thought even after 30 years has passed that the Second World War is still alive and kicking, that it has not finished. I think that a lot of Germans are still so triggered that they still have this thought that the Second World War is still alive and kicking. They still believe the Second World War is still there. And my father actually was similar. I think he has grounded himself through diverse things, but I think that my grandfather was actually thinking that he's still in the Second World War or something like that. So basically what the Second World War has done is it has caused so much PTSD and so much grief, so much suffering, that people were never able to ground themselves afterwards, you know? They were never able to be alive. They were never able to live, because you can only live in the here and now fully and not in the trauma of the past or in your trauma. So what was happening was that my father was abusing me as a baby, and he also practiced a lot of things like letting go of me, stuff that he has experienced in the Second World War as well, where his parents thought, if we lose each other now because someone gets killed, then we have to practice different things of saying goodbye to each other and stuff like that. And this is what my father has practiced with me also. I remember one scene when I was a little baby and he was holding me out of the window, similar to the scene of Michael Jackson. Actually, he was holding his child out of the window also at one point, didn't he? I'm holding a stone from the northern German seaside. Actually, I'm loading it up with my energy, and sometimes I put it on different parts of my body. Feels quite nice. It feels like grounding, because if I walk along the beach, then of course I'm feeling grounded, more grounded. So yeah, so basically the my German father abused me, thinking that there are no laws out there, you know. I think that a lot of Germans actually still believe that we don't have any laws. But we're not in the Second World War, so of course the Germans have built up a huge law system after the Second World War, human rights, stuff like that. But the Germans act as if there are no human rights and if there are no laws. You can be rude, you can be cruel to each other. One guy was actually throwing me down the stairs. I went to the judge, and the judge, that was in the Ruhr area again. The Ruhr area is quite bad for the judges. The judge actually said, oh, nothing has happened. Yeah, so the men in Germany can do what they want at the moment with the German woman. It's dangerous. Yeah, because the Germans are still so traumatized and still so crazy that they think they can do what they want, you know. So yeah, my father abused me, and but I learned a lot of things about it, because, for example, when you get abused by your parents, if you have no safe place or whatever, you adopt to something that is surrounding you, be it an animal, the birds singing, for example, or be it a dog. Maybe you had a dog or a cat. You're bonding. Your body tries to bond with something, yeah. And of course, the cats don't like it. The cats don't like hugging or bonding too much. You cannot hold a cat. A cat is very wild and free and has her own head. But for example, you can hug a dog, hug and cuddle a dog, you know. So you can bond with the dog. The dogs actually are very much interested in holding you and being a friend, in even adopting you. You know, a lot of people get adopted by wolves or dogs. So the dog family is very much interested in even having you as a family member. I think even that the dogs or the wolf family have achieved such a high standard on planet Earth that they could become the rulers of planet Earth. The dogs can also become like humans, but in a dog body. Yeah, I think the Egyptians, didn't they have like these gods of dogs? I think it was like that. Yeah. And I think that the Germans also have made the dogs into a tribe of gods, saying that at the moment a lot of dogs get abused also. I'm very worried. Of course, I love the dog family. So yes, I got adopted by them as well, but and I also learned the language of dogs. I learned howling, I learned barking. If you listen to barking, if you sit in your room, you have the window open, and maybe sometimes a dog is barking, don't focus on the body too much, but listen to the barking voice. It can sound like a human being, you know? And you can even tell if it's a female dog or a male dog. The voice is different of a male dog or of a female dog. Yeah? So, for example, if you cannot call the police, if you cannot, if there's no human being around, so tired. Oh. If there's no human being around who might help you in a certain case, for example, rescuing you, you can start to howl or you can start to bark and call for a dog. You can call your dog or the dog family. And the dog family will react. So, for example, if you read about the Katie McCann, the mother of Maddie McCann, I read an article where she was howling like a dog, really howling, when someone told her that Maddie McCann actually disappeared. Yeah. So Katie McCann was in such a grief, in such a pain, that she started to howl. Some people would maybe scream or shout, but she was howling. And maybe she was howling because she didn't believe that Maddie McCann at that time was dead. Maybe she was right. Her instincts of Katie McCann were very, very strong. And she was howling towards the dog family, unconsciously, choosing the reaction of howling towards the dog family, so that a search dog, which was actually happening, didn't it? A search dog was searching for Maddie McCann, but the dog said that Maddie McCann died in the hotel room. Yeah. So Katie McCann was howling in grief when she heard that Maddie McCann has actually disappeared, and maybe in her howling she put the messages of wanting to find out if Maddie has already died, where she has died. And police officers, humans, have limited access to instincts and whatever. So she was howling, she was using the language of dogs, which should all of us should put the dogs in a very godlike position, because dogs and wolves are just amazing helpers. If they get trained, if they have the possibility, if they have the chance to have a purpose as a rescue dog or whatever, then they can actually be of such a great help, especially in a job and higher positions. And yeah, so I think that Katie McCann unconsciously knew the language of dogs, and I believe that all of us, everybody of us, every single person unconsciously knows the language of dogs. It is simply because we walk around the city and there's a dog barking here, there's a dog barking here, or making noises and communication. We are surrounded by animals, and unconsciously the languages of animals land in our unconsciousness, and what happens? We learn the language of these animals also. But we don't use it in everyday life, because people would say, "You're gaga, you need to go into a mental hospital." If I would start barking like a dog outside, they would put me in a mental hospital. But that does not mean, if I don't bark outside, if I walk around with all the Germans, I know exactly that all of these Germans do speak the dog language, all of them. So if I would bring them home to my home place and say, "Listen, let's trigger your unconsciousness now, and do you know the language of dogs? Let's start barking. Woof, 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 woof." Then of course they would say, "Yes, of course, I know the sound of a wolf, I know the sound of the barking, I know the language. Yes, that's true." Yeah. So unconsciously we speak the language of wolves, of dogs, and of birds, of raven. For example, I'm very connected to ravens. They are actually very humorous, very funny. They are comedians. Raven birds are comedians, and highly intelligent. Mostly the comedians are very, very intelligent. I love intelligence and I love comedian attitude. So the Raven family is totally my type of family. I love them. They're hilarious. The dogs also, they're so cute. Dogs are cute, intelligent, relaxed, chilled. They're everything. They have all of the traits also of every creature on earth. Oh, I suffer from fatigue. I'm very sorry. I've slept so much, but I suffer from fatigue because I'm ill at the moment. So, yes, I think that Katie McCann actually got triggered by grief, by a very strong emotion that cannot be expressed in words. So she chose a sound of howling. yeah. And the sound of grief and howling had different purposes: to express the grief, to release the grief, to have a reaction, but also to connect to the wolf family and to ask maybe a wolf alpha wolf to check out if Maddie McCann has truly died, where she has died, and things like that. And this actually happened. A alpha wolf went into the hotel room, sniffed out Maddie McCann's body parts or whatever, poor little baby, and actually said that Maddie McCann has died in the hotel room. Personally, I question this, even if I love the Alpha Wolf family and I totally trust and believe that. It would not make any sense. If it was a pedophile, then why would he kill Maddie McCann in the hotel room? A pedophile would take a child and do stuff with her later on, abuse her or whatever. But you never know what kind of people run around in the world, and maybe he just wanted to kill her. I don't know. I still think it's this Christian B who killed Maddie McCann and adopted her, and maybe she was losing some blood in the hotel room. And but I think that Christian Bruckner actually took her out of the hotel room. And we all have to find out where Maddie McCann's remains are so that they can prove it and they can lock him up forever, I'm so sorry if it was a German guy, then I'm so sorry that we have such a monster in our land, I'm very sorry about that.